Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to tell you about some books that I picked up throughout the month of July. Yes, this is a book haul. Let's start with the book of the month books that I picked for the month of July. I actually picked two that were offered in July and one that has been around for a while. First, I picked up The Shadows by Alex North. This is the follow-up to Alex North's first novel, The Whisper Man, which I loved. But this is a story that takes place in the same town. And it is about a man who returns to that town, having escaped, fled years earlier after one of his friends murdered his other friend. And now he's there to take care of his mother, but upon his arrival, things about that initial attack and murder start resurfacing. The friend that supposedly committed this murder was never seen or heard from again. So this, I think, is different because it's going to be rooted in a lot of past events, whereas The Whisper Man did deal with a copycat murderer, so the past played a part. But this to me is almost giving me Chalkman kind of vibes, which again was about a friend group and it had a dual narrative. I'm not sure what exactly to expect other than crime thriller, meeting a detective again, like seeing the same detective from The Whisper Man, and eventually uncovering the truth about an event in the past, whereas The Whisper Man was about uncovering the truth about a current series of murders. So I love The Whisper Man, and I'm super excited for The Shadows. It was one of my anticipated reads. I can't wait to read it. I also picked up Mexican Gothic. This is by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. This I hadn't heard anything about. It was not at all on my radar, but it was listed as horror. It takes place in Mexico. This is the story of a woman who receives a frantic message from her cousin who is living with her new husband in a mansion in the Mexican countryside, but she needs her to come help her, rescue her, save her, I don't know, something. So it's all about uncovering the secrets of this house, uncovering the secrets of the man that her cousin married. This is historical, so that should be interesting. But I think the cover is beautiful, and I'm intrigued. And lastly, from Book of the Month, as an add-on, this was originally offered in May. I don't remember what book I picked up in May. Who could keep track of that? But The Boyfriend Project by Farrah Rochon. This is another one of those books that, yeah, I heard about it, and yeah, okay, but I wasn't really convinced until people started reading it and absolutely loving it. This is about a woman who has a horrific date and realizes after tweeting it that the man was like two-timing two other women, three other women. And so the women get together and form this new bond, this new friend group, and make it their mission to focus entirely on themselves, to stop looking for partners. And they're supposed to go 6 months doing so. And of course, that would be the exact moment that our heroine meets a super sexy, super perfect guy. I don't know if the trope in romance has a specific name, but this is basically playing with the idea that, you know, as soon as you stop looking for love, it will find you, kind of a thing. So I also just received another anticipated read of mine. This is He Started It by Samantha Downing. I'm super excited for this book because I loved her first novel, My Lovely Wife, and probably one of my, if not my favorite thriller of all time at this point. But He Started It is about siblings brought back together after their grandfather dies in order to collect their inheritance. And there's a whole bunch of sibling rivalry in this family. One of the siblings is a killer. We don't know which one. Supposedly, currently, when we're reading, has a body in the trunk. So just really excited to read it. He started it as a dark, twisting road trip into hell with a family you wouldn't want to live next door to. I have never read anything like it. A story of a family not unlike your own, just with a few more violent tendencies thrown in. I can't wait to read it. I've got so many, but with like all of these books or authors that I love have come out with new books this year, and my head is spinning. John Mars, Alex North, Samantha Downing. I just want to read them all, and it's absolutely 100% impossible to do so. Another anticipated read from my list this year is The Tourist Attraction by Sarah Morgenthaler. This is the story of a woman who is ticking off items on her bucket list, which includes a trip to Alaska, and she wanders into a cafe or diner owned by probably the man in Alaska who hates tourists more than anybody else. Sparks will fly between the two of them. This is also the first book in a series that takes place in Moose something, Alaska. Moose Springs. In Moose Springs, Alaska. A unique voice and a grump-tastic hero. I'm sold. And I do like romance novels that have grumpy heroes in them for some reason, and the women who melt their icy little hearts. I love that. Live for that. Next, I picked up the self-published novel by Kennedy Ryan called Queen Move. This is about a man and a woman who actually grew up together, had their first kiss together. Their families were super, super close. They were just best friends and sort of always met for each other. But then the families had a falling out. These two were separated and went on to become adults, grow up, live their own lives. But for some reason, I'm not sure what it is, they are drawn back together. They do meet again. And the chemistry is still there. She still feels like he belongs to her. Only their families are not in a good place. And he happens to be taken at the time. The book does have a short dedication to all the girls who have to work twice as hard. You Know Who You Are, which I thought was intriguing. I've just been wanting to read romance lately, and I'm not sure what that is. I don't know what's going on, but romance has been calling to me lately. This one called to me pretty loudly, and so I picked it up. I also picked up two from Tessa Bailey that I had no idea she had ever written. Tessa Bailey is the author of Fix Her Up, which I haven't read, but supposedly good. I picked up This Time Tomorrow and Reborn yesterday. I can never remember which one is first. This one is first, Reborn yesterday. They are a series, but they are standalones within that series, from what I understand. But Reborn yesterday is the story of a funeral home director who's going about her business when one of the bodies wakes up. He's on her embalming table. He sits up, opens his eyes, and it changes her life forever. Obviously, this is about vampires. And before our vampire Jonas can erase Jenny's memory of the event of him waking up, she reveals some information that uncovers a link that they share. One that makes it impossible for him to wipe her memory clean and move on and forget about her as well. And then the second book, This Time Tomorrow, this is a story about Roxana and Elias. They shared a very brief but very intense affair, and Elias was then turned into a vampire and claims to not remember that night. Roxana's mother in Moscow is now insisting that she kill Elias. So, not sure if Roxana is the one who made Elias the vampire or not, but these books intrigue me because they're so beautiful. I mean, the covers obviously are what drew my eye. Tessa Bailey being the author also drew my attention, but they're striking in that they sound like they contain very dark, intense vampire stories, and yet they're just so beautiful, and so I'm all about it. These are both self-published, by the way. So, yes and yes. So the last two books that I want to show you are also self-pub romance. I guess I didn't realize that this one was, but this is Perfect Chaos by Jodi Ellen Malpas. She is author of the This Man trilogy, which I believe is Beneath This Man. Book 2 is Beneath This Man. Book 1 is This Man. Okay, I do know that I read it, but I don't particularly remember it. But anyways, same author. The synopsis of this book is pretty vague, and to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not sure what it was that stood out to me when I decided to purchase it. It might have been reviews even, but this is an office romance, kind of. It is about a man who owns a business with a partner, and his partner hires a new assistant who is, of course, off limits in a romantic or sexual way. It says that when he engages in pursuing her, his life is thrown into perfect chaos. Everyone wants to be found except her. I think that she is living some sort of double identity or what have you. I'm just intrigued by it, and while I did say that I am in the mood to read romance, I think what I'm really in the mood for is angst when it comes down to it. Lastly, I have the first in a new fantasy romance series by Kristen Ashley. This is The Beginning of Everything. This is part of the Rising series. This was originally produced exclusively for Audible, and it's only now available in ebook and print format. I have this thing where I just own Kristen Ashley books in physical form. It is about a parallel universe and a content within that universe known as Triton, and it's split into 4 separate parts. The 4 strongest warriors on this continent, and how they have to wed the 4 most powerful witches in order to prevent the emergence of something called the Beast. I don't know what that is yet, obviously, but it's an ancient prophecy. And so the books follow these 4 warriors and their relationships with the witches. It's unclear to me. I don't believe that each of the 4 books is one relationship. I could be wrong. I think that the relationships form and develop concurrently within these 4 books, and that the 4 books, or the arc of the actual series, is to do with the battle, the daunting circumstances that they're facing in this land. Definitely a departure from me. Kristen Ashley does have one previous fantasy series. I've read one of those books. She also did paranormal romance. So, I mean, not a total departure, but not something that you're probably used to seeing me feature on this channel. So that felt like a mess. That felt like I didn't explain any of those books very well. If that is the case, I apologize. I'm not sure where my head is at. Sometimes when you film videos, man, you're in the groove and everything just feels right. Today doesn't feel like one of those days. Today feels like an all over the map, what did I just say? Did that even make sense? Kind of day. So those are the books that I picked up in July. I hope you found something in there that sounded interesting. There were 3 different books from my anticipated reads list, which is kind of a big deal. And I wish that I could read all of these books right now, right away. But I can't. Let me know what you think of the books that I purchased. Let me know about any books that you've picked up lately. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon.